heavens and let patience just fall down on them? Or do we put them in a situation where we can go ahead and exercise the patience that they have?
Let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect
so,
and entire, lacking
when
nothing.
somebody asks for more, whatever it is, do we just pour it on them, or do we give them anything to exercise what it is that they have to make it stronger?
Exercise.
A lot of times we ask for these things, and then we find ourselves in what we consider hardships and things of this type of nature. But in actuality, we are getting what we're asking for. Mm-hmm. And it's a case of not managing it and handling it the way it is. Like I said, the trial and your test that you go through in life is not for God's knowledge, because God already knows. It's for you to understand, I can. I don't know if I can do this, Lord. Give me strength. Like, well, yeah, you got the strength, and you only see it once you get past and get out of it. Like, oh, wow.
So you think that there should be a natural and a spiritual balance that every Christian should have, Pastor Keisha, because you've been a pastor, you've had flock under you, okay, and not just your own flock, but there are people outside of your flock who call you for help, for spiritual encouragement or what have you. Should your help always be spiritual?
There has to be a balance.
Okay,
it truly has to be a balance. And I know for me, I have to be able to look at things, holistically. Overall, not just on a spiritual note, not just everything is the enemy, right. But I have to also use common sense. Good. When, a person may bring a situation to me, when I look at just listening, when I look at certain cycles or however two of things, and it's a good thing to call, cycle, we may talk about a curse or however, but still yet, to be able to look and just bring balance to the situation. Some may beg to differ, but I'm not churchy. Ministry, and I think there's a difference. Ministry, minister to the needs of the people. Yeah. When Tamala Man said churched out, I'm churched out. I'm a different breed. Sure. So definitely, again, the balance has to, you have to be able to balance out the two. You can't be over spiritual and over, blaming the enemy for everything. There are some things that we have to surely take responsibility for. If God gave us power in our tongue is what we speak out. Absolutely. Look at the book, The Secret. Certain things are just, it's common sense. Life and death is in what you speak. And you can, all day long, you can speak negative about me, about a situation, however, but what do I believe? Yeah. So yet again is what that one individual, what you so believe. So again, bringing that balance to the table, but you may have a weak-minded person or individual that you're still faced with certain situations that continue to repeat themselves. So it goes back to the beginning, about a curse. Black as a race, are we cursed? There's so many things that I look at, and even things that I experience as a woman in ministry, as a mother, just in business, and
okay.
So much.
Let me ask you this. You say the blacks could be cursed. Are white people cursed?
I was just about to say that. Yeah. I was just there because what you described, anybody could go through.
Yes.
Oh yeah, but see, I'm tapping in on the topic. But yes.
Okay.
I'm tapping on the topic.
But
let me say this. Let me say this. I think it could be anything or anyone.
Sure.
So a man thinketh, so is he.
Okay.
And that's what I believe. But I just believe, again, different races and cultures handle things a little bit differently. Okay, so I think we all have the same opportunities.
So, so the same thing happened to all of us in different ways, but the same thing can happen. Let's
how
say,
we react, how we respond.
How we react is important. So so how can we say that we are cursed when the white man also he go through poverty as well? He go through sickness. He died of cancer. So he could be cursed. Well, the Asian have the same issue. The Palestinian, the same thing. So they can say, "Oh, we're cursed too." So all mankind cursed. So we have to examine what this curse is, and is it exclusive to the black man? And I think that's what the problem is. It appears throughout history that through slavery, the master used this scripture to manipulate to justify slavery. That God cursed. He cursed Ham, or cursed his son Canaan. Okay. And then, but no one specified what that curse was.
Or how long.
Or how long, that's it. And that's the thing about it.
The coincidence of the political structure of the world today can be tied to that.
Absolutely.
But we can tie that to almost anybody.
Yes.
Yeah, at any given point in time in history, this is true.
What about the Jews themselves through the Holocaust?
Absolutely.
If
anybody's cursed.
You can take it back. You can take it back before that too. Actually, during the onset of the Black Plague.
Yeah.
Just prior to the onset to that, the Jews went through a very trying set before that. Actually, that's probably what saved them was the Black Plague coming through.
Yes.
Which some would call a curse, but to them it was a blessing.
Yes.
Yeah, well, and also
Absolutely.
at that time, those were the end days too.
Yes.
Yeah, they said that was that.
Yeah, so I'm going like,
Yeah, so I think the oppression of man, a specific man, because I've heard Jews always, I've heard my Jewish friends say we are cursed people. There's always things happening to us, and now some of theirs due to their rebellion towards God. Yes. But we're talking about today, right now, is the ban lifted. Now, with the Jews, we know what the Bible says about them. They are I'm not anti-Semitic, okay, at all whatsoever. I can only go by what Scriptures say, and then you take it up with God, don't take it up with me. But the Apostle Paul wrote a letter, and he mentioned that the Jews would be blind in part, just in part, not fully, but in part.
That was a political statement. That was an idiom he used. And see that there's another problem with lack of proper understanding of what's meant in context. Blind in part.
Yeah.
That means half the race is going to be blind.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? No, that's an idiom. Blind in part. They didn't. Some didn't want to accept it. Some had to see a miracle.
Absolutely,
Some,
because they needed the sign,
Yes.
and that's why you have we call them Christian Jews, but they call them Messianic
Jews.
Messianic Jews, because those are the ones who see. They see the truth, and there are others who will
Shout
rebel.
out to Sid Roth.
Sid Roth. I love Sid Roth.
The trumpet in
Yeah.
Zion.
Oh, yeah. Perfect example.
Yes.
We talked about John Hagee yesterday.
Yes.
He has the largest a group. I think he called it CUFI, CUFI, Christians United for Israel. Yeah. The largest in America, that type of group for Israel. Okay, and a lot of Messianic Jews come and join in with them.
Here's something though. A black pastor friend of mine, who will remain nameless, went over there, and he was offended with the nation of Israel and how they treated the indigenous people there. And I said, well, you call them indigenous because of the great diaspora and them returning back in 1948 and receiving statehood. He said, yeah, because there's a wall that divides the people and the Israelites.
Wow.
On one side of the wall, dry land. They can only get water from a well, or they can only water their lawns a couple days a week. The other side of the wall, just the other side of the wall, green land. Everything's posh and nice. And I said, well, could that be because of the amount of support that nation receives globally? Because they have representatives all over the world, and they have investments all over the world. So is that a curse, or is that just good business sense?
Yes.
And how do we look at that?
Yes.
How do we look at that? I mean, how do we look at all these things? Many of us, if we could go back in retrospect and look, if I had done it this way, the opportunity was right before me, but I missed it. So I can't say we're cursed. I can't say that we are cursed. I mean, first of all, we can't say what a curse is, so I can't say we're cursed.
Can't say, right.
I will say that there's a lot of misfortune that hit our community.
Absolutely.
And there's a lack of wisdom that takes place within our community.
Yes. So what's happening to us? Black on black crime. Okay.
Oh, God.
Right?
That's a curse.
right.
No, that's a
I
cuss.
want a cuss.
That's a
Right.
cuss.
I want
That's a cuss, not a curse.
Yeah. So that's a situation, but it's the same thing with overseas, over in Europe, over in the Middle East.
Yeah, the media just doesn't show the whole truth.
They don't show the whole truth. Okay, there's some wild things happening over in some of the African countries over there, where they're murdering each other within themselves. Okay, so we can say the same thing about them.
Well, define murdering within themselves, because Nigerians don't consider themselves the same as Liberia, Libya, or any of the other nations. Because
when they come over here, they unite.
No,
they sure do.
All of them driving cabs.
No, only to a degree. But and it's basically this turn around, look, and laugh at us for calling ourselves African Americans. Because I've heard,
that's true.
I've heard from too many of them like, you're not African American because you're not from Africa.
Right.
I am. So I migrated here and became a citizen. I'm an African American. But yet and still, because we look so diverse,
multi-ethnic.
Yeah, because that's what we are. We look so diverse that we look everyone over there. We can find someone in the hood that looks a little bit like that. So we say, okay, we are all brothers, and they look like, no, we're not.
I'm going to tell John Hagee.
Now Nigeria, on the other hand, there is a lot of infighting going on just within inside that border. I think they got like 300 different tribes now.
Well, think about the Somali back, based upon how your nose looked.
Yeah.
They decided what tribe you were from,
Absolutely.
and then they started killing you.
That's true.
You got a skinny nose, I got a fat nose.
Yes.
I know, but that's what got me about that whole thing of being a sellout.
Yeah.
I'm going like, right.
You think racism is born or taught?
Just not even to hit that. What is it with our culture? What is it with, our race as a whole? You pointed out a topic of the blacks. Are we cursed? But how do we look at how we treat each other? Look at how we're divided. We talked about black on black crime. Look at the lack of support. There's something, how we title it, I don't know. And it's a touchy subject because it's like it's an epidemic, if you will, and it's gone on generation to generation to generation to generation, and it's within our culture. Not to say that other cultures don't have issues, however, but more than likely, when we look at the other cultures. Some of them, we talk about the Hispanic, Mexican, they stick together, they pack up on top of each other, but they support each other.
But
and
they
I'm not
kill
being
each
funny.
other too.
Of course.
They just don't.
Of course.
The thing is, ours is more public than anything.
Yeah,
because
public.
what really cause the
We
Asians,
tell our business.
when it goes down into the tongues, the crime that was going down in Chinatown and the connection back over to the other way was like incredible. It had the disciples and El Rookins beat, but you didn't hear about it. Okay, and because they kept a lid on it. The Italians, what's going on with us is not really any different. The only thing is ours seem to have stretched out a little bit longer. I see our culture because I'm one of those people. I don't believe in racism because there's only one race. There are ethnic bias. I don't like using the word racist because it's a case of I don't know anybody going out with a dog or sheep except them people.
Right.
But
Sure.
Why you have to bring him in?
Yeah.
but you have all these different ethnic biases, and they all going through the thing. What I see happening with the American black is a bad relationship that has transpired. A man, woman, whatever the case may be, but one was abuser, the other one was being abused. Now that relationship is over with. We can say that relationship was slavery. And then, then we go through the civil rights period and all this kind of good stuff. And then that heavier abuser is gone. But the one who used to be gets into a newer relationship. And because that thing that they're used to is not there, then they become the abuser themselves. They turn in on themselves, on the thing that they criticize and ridicule. And that's what I see. Once it started to ease up, off the brothers and the sisters, it's like they turned on one another. And so long as in basic training, they did it to us all the time. If you hate the drill sergeant, then you all will unite together until you get to the point you realize you've been tricked into coming together. And white guys, black guys, east, west coast, the whole 9 yards. We learned to depend on that guy next to us for our very lives because we knew that guy's life depended on us as well. But we got there because the one thing that we had to rally against or whatever it was actually our drill sergeant. Once white society eased up and started giving us certain opportunities, we couldn't fight them as much, so we started fighting ourselves more. We always fought ourselves because I hear like wild stories from back in the 40s as to how bad things were. But everybody would stop fighting to go ahead and deal with this thing that was coming from outside. Now, we talk about what's going on outside, but we still keep fighting amongst ourselves.
Why we pinpointed? Why you made the point that it's going on in all the other cultures, but why is the media spotlight
because
on?
it's marketable.
Sure, it is marketable.
Because
It's
to us it's a black and white world.
Yeah, that's true.
We are the only community that don't keep our money within the community.
Right.
So if we market every negative aspect of our people, the other surrounding communities will split the pie. And the Asians will sell us our hair. The Mexicans will sell us our food or our services.
And the Arabs will serve us our liquor.
They'll serve our liquor and our gasoline and our chickens and our catfish.
Yeah.
So they break us down. There was a time, and I'm sorry, I will not buy rib tips from an Arab if he don't believe in eating the pig himself.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying?
How's he even able to make the pig and to be able to touch the pig?
Right. So, that's the point I'm trying to make. But they do this also in a sense to give somebody a sense of supremacy in the midst of oppression.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, I'm a big fish in a little pond.
Yes.
And so we like that because it's marketable, is what they see. And we